Do you think we should be speaking more about the Hersovs and Manels and the work they've done in this country? Because people don't speak about it as much anymore. You guys become like the Rothschilds as this shadow group somewhere.
We're not as rich. I think the Manels were more active politically, and the Manels were more activists than the Hersovs. We just kind of got on with building businesses and staying out of the political sphere.
But should we be telling the story, at least from a business perspective?
Yeah, I think it's old. It's gone. You know, only the older people remember the Hersov name and the Manel name.
Shouldn't we tell that story?
No, I think it's just...
Why not?
Is it that interesting and exciting?
Could inspire people?
I think Bob Hersov was an incredible businessman. He died at age 57. If he'd kept going, he would have been richer than any South African that ever lived. Died at age 57. He was
a beast.
He was just an incredible businessman.
Did you get to meet him?
No. He died before I was born.
Jeez.
And on his last day, he was the first South African to have a private plane.
Hey!
It's an old Dakota.
Hey!
He was the first South African to have a private yacht. Okay, now yachts these days are 70, 80 meters.
Grandfather was
but his was probably 20 meters, which was huge in those days. And he'd had it built and designed in America, brought out to South Africa. He flew down to Cape Town, and the boat was called Zinkwazi. I'm trying to find a picture of it. Oh. And Bob Hersov went out for sail in Zinkwazi around the Cape, came back, went to his room at the Mount Nelson and died.
Jeez.
That was his last day. And he was 57. I'm 64, and I haven't achieved anything like he's achieved. If he'd lived to 80, he would have been the greatest businessman, the most wealthiest businessman that ever lived.
How did you guys manage to preserve wealth for so long? I'm honored to have met Alex, by the way.
We haven't.
Okay.
We haven't. So the only way to preserve wealth is to be in a dollar-based country, because the dollar depreciates less than any other currency. Or dollar-based wealth, and to only have one child, preferably a son. So the Oppenheimers...
This is not a joke.
It's not a joke. Ernest had one son, Harry. Harry had a son, Nicky, and a daughter, Mary. And then they had more children. And wealth, the Chinese say clogs to clogs in 3 generations. And the main reason is the first generation builds it, the second generation maintains it or grows it.
If they can.
And the third loses it. Because by the third generation, you've got lots of heirs or heiresses and a lot less hunger.
True.
And the biggest challenge for me as third generation was to be hungry and driven. And I think my dad did a good job because he said to us children, I'm not going to give you anything other than the best education known to man. So take advantage of it. He said, I don't know where the country's going. I don't know where the company's going. I don't know where our wealth is going. But you've got to know, you've got to make it yourself. And people say, oh, Rob Hersov is just a trust fund baby.
Of course.
My parents are still alive. I haven't got a trust fund yet. Maybe I'm going to get a big one at some point if they ever pass away. But I don't have one.
Yeah.
So they've given me some opportunity, no question.
Yes.
And education, and I've made the rest myself.
Is this advice you've given Alex and the rest of your kids?
Yeah. Well, I've told them, I'm not giving you handouts.
Yeah.
Go sort yourselves out. Yeah. If they run into a bit of trouble on rent for 3 months, I'll pay their rent just to get them up and running. But then they've got to pay their own. So yes, they have advantages no one else has, but they're not handed a wad of money. And both are driven. They're both hungry.
One of the greatest dollar-based country have one son.
Only one child, one
Johan
son.
Rupert has one son. I know his son is kind of taken over. He's got more.
His dad had
Anton.
2. And his dad had 3 kids. Johan, Anthony, who died, and Hanneli, the daughter. And they all have children. But Johan has been a massive wealth creator.
Yes.
So his father built it. Johan has been a massive wealth creator.
I saw they just divested from BAT. Sorry.
Yeah, they're out of killing people with smoking.
Sorry.
No,
and then
Johan
his son is taking over now.
Johan's maybe the best businessman Africa's ever produced.
Ever? On the African continent?
I think Natie Kirsch might be richer.
I think Natie Kirsch might be the best businessman on the continent.
Okay, Natie's number 1, Johan's number 2. Strive Masiyiwa number 3.
More than Aliko Dangote?
Yeah, because Aliko operated within Nigeria only.
Okay.
So he got all the favors from politics.
Strong.
Strive has competed internationally. He's built, and he was not loved in Zimbabwe. So he built his business in Zimbabwe and he expanded across Africa and worldwide. He's probably my number 3 best African businessman.
Interesting. But Natie Kirsch, at least we agree.
Yeah, I think Natie number 1.
I got to see him for the first time a couple of weeks ago. I want to give a shout out to mutual mate, Howard Saxton, who invited me to the Absolute Jewish Achievers Awards, and he went in hard.
What a speech.
Yeah, on what the Jewish nation has done to
You're
build
more
South
Jewish
Africa.
than I am, man. So you've got to know that.
Getting invited to these things, man, where I love the Jewish community, and I love the fact that when you meet people from the Jewish community and you get along, they give you immediate love.
Yeah.
That's something to be really appreciated. There's a piece of advice which I fully agreed with that you gave me, and I'd like you to share it again now. I asked if you'd like your children to be in the same business you're in and do what you do. And you said to me, the number one thing I tell my kids is I want you to be able to present yourself, tell a story. So even with the little guys, come tell me what happened at school. Tell me a story, because it doesn't matter what industry they're in. If they can sell, if they can tell a story, it's most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. So I met 2 days ago an old bishop's boy, guy living in Cape Town, Ben Anderson, who was head boy of bishops last year.
Brilliant.
But he won the World School Public Speaking Competition 2 years ago.
Jeez.
Now, to me, that's the greatest achievement, ahead of being rugby captain, ahead of being 9 distinctions. That, to me, is the greatest achievement of all.
Why?
To be able to stand, because it's 4 categories. One is the prepared speech. One is the unprepared, where they give you 5 minutes and they say, here's your topic. You've got to speak for 10 minutes. Yeah, you've got to read. The third is a narrative. You get given a piece of literature and then you have to act it out with accents and things.
Jeez.
So it's more like acting.
Yeah.
And then the fourth is debating, 1 against 1. To me, those 4 categories, prepared, unprepared, narrative, dramatization, and then debating, are the greatest skills you could ever have.